by increasing the vascularity, by increasing the subclinical contractility of the uterus, which avoids the implantation of the embryo. Ultimately, all this thing, whenever a lady suffer with these symptoms, they may suffer with the depression also. So if we go to the next part of the thing, what is the current options, the current options of treatment of fibroid? When you see the fibroid, what do you think? First, you try to come out with the idea, what is the size of the fibroid? What is the location of the fibroid? Because, you know, location is a very important thing. The most commonly seen fibroids are intramural fibroids, and they are the fibroids which are mostly symptomatic. And other locations are submucosal, which are very, very symptomatic, giving heavy menstrual bleeding. They are less in frequency in occurrence, but they are very, very important to be dealt with because they affect the fertility and they are more symptomatic. So we have a lot of current options, but there are many options, but many of them are limited options. So we have to really work out with the options of the fibroid, because when you see with the National Family Health Survey 15-16, they have seen the prevalence of hysterectomy for the first time is 3.2% between 15 to 49 years. So such a high prevalence of hysterectomy, and that too because of the fibroid. So uterine leiomyoma was the most common condition leading to the hysterectomy indication. According, they are accounting to the tune of 41% of all the hysterectomies in India. But you understand that hysterectomy at an early stage has severe effects on women's physical, mental, social well-being, including the incontinence. There are many, many complications patient may suffer, and we cannot think of hysterectomies in the patient who are looking for the pregnancies. So what is the common thing? We can see that majority of patient is looking for non-hormonal therapy. You can see the search of the patients. They are looking for how to deal with the fibroid naturally, avoiding surgery. The patient do ask us in our OPD, don't you have any some simpler treatment? Doctor साहब थोड़ी medicine लिख दीजिए, fibroid ठीक हो जाएगा. Then we comment, नहीं ऐसे छोटी मोटी चीज नहीं, you can just deal with the fibroid like थोड़ी दवाई दी दीजिए हो जाएगा. So many times the bigger fibroids has to be dealt with the surgery only, and sometimes when the patient we want to preserve the fertility and there are multiple fibroids, then we have to resort to the medical treatment. So talking about the next slide, when we talk about the medical treatment, you can see the milestone of the development of treatments and understanding of myomas. See, in 1970s, we have seen that in the pilot study suggested there is increased estrogen receptors in the human myoma cells. In 1980, what we have seen, new treatment like SERMs class has been developed, and these are development of selective estrogen receptor modulators started, which gave positive outcome in fibroid associated symptoms. While in 1990, we have again seen some GnRH analogs having a similar action of estrogen receptor modulation, lesser side effects. They were introduced as newer fibroid treatment, which reduced the size of fibroids, and they were safer than existing option at that time in women who refrained from surgery. But later in 2000, we also seen some progesterones and selective progesterone receptor modulators for the treatment of the fibroids, which were safer than analogs and reduce the fibroid size. And ultimately in 2016, what we can see that both estrogen and progesterone play important role in the occurrence of fibroid. Till now, we were in the thought of like estrogen is the main culprit for the development of fibroid. So high estrogen levels, they ultimately lead to fibroid development. But we have concluded that estrogen and progesterone both have a role. So we can focus on both the things like this. There is a need for the paradigm shift for the treatment of estrogen and progesterone. Please take the slides back. So there is a lot of paradigm shift on the treatment of fibroid. That is, we want to take that focus on both as a single agent. We want to talk about the treatment against estrogen receptors and the progesterone receptors. So next is what I would like to tell, like there is a need to shift which will focus us not only on the progesterone but also on estrogen as the effective therapy of fibroid management. So there should be focus on both the receptors. So if we tell about estrogen, progesterone play a vital role in development of fibroids, what we can conclude that uterine fibroids contain both estrogen and progesterone receptors, and we have seen that they are more in number in fibroids when compared with the myometrium. Both estrogen and progesterone bind to their receptors and increase the different growth factors, and which leads to proliferation of fibroid cells, and they inhibit apoptosis of fibroid cells. This is the pathophysiology. So what we have seen that how we have formulated many therapies, and we have tried to work out with many therapies in dealing with the fibroids. So there were limitations of many therapies, especially initially people used to deal with the fibroid only with the surgical therapy. So as I mentioned, the surgical therapy is a hysterectomy. So hysterectomy has got a surgical morbidity. It has got a risk of surgical long-term complication, as I mentioned, and ultimately hysterectomy leads to complete loss of fertility. So this is the answer for many patients looking for the fertility. And then coming to the myomectomy. Myomectomy, in fact, has got a high risk of fibroid recurrence, and the potential uterine rupture during pregnancy and delivery has clearly mentioned. So it is important to understand. In fact, we have seen many patients, we have operated on the patient, the risk of recurrence has been seen where the fibroids have very high potential to regrow. Other therapies apart from the surgical therapy is a uterine artery embolization is very well mentioned in the literature, but it does have a risk of fibroid recurrence. It has a pain during the procedure is high, possibility of severe complication of ischemia, gluteal ischemia, possibility of subsequent hysterectomy in 20% cases if there is a bilateral ischemia or a severe pelvic pain associated with these conditions. And it is a higher end procedure where we need interventional radiologists and a big setup to work on for this procedure. So there is also a very, very important point to be noted that there is a potential ovarian failure, and there is also the chances during pregnancy, even if after this procedure the patient conceived, there is a high chance of abnormal placental development. So there are a lot of limitations. Now, other therapies like medical therapies still now suggested for the treatment of the symptoms of the fibroid. Basically, symptomatic treatment has been approached for fibroid. These are NSAIDs basically for the pain and anti-inflammatory effect, but there is a lack of supportive evidence from clinical trials that they are ultimately a drug for the treatment of fibroids. They have a GI side effects, lack of the risk of gastric ulceration has been mentioned. Apart from this, when we are looking for symptomatic treatment, we have antifibrinolytic drug like tranexamic acid, which used to treat menorrhagia and dysmenorrhea. And but you know, you can treat menorrhagia, dysmenorrhea, but the size of fibroid will remain the same. And sometimes there's few literature, very, very few literature have also mentioned that can increase the size of myoma also. Coming to the other therapy, like as I mentioned, GnRH agonist also has a role to decreasing the size of the fibroid, but it has a risk of loss of calcium, osteoporosis, and there is a you can say symptoms of perimenopausal symptom, hot flashes are there. The other therapies like androgens causes the acne, hirsutism, edema. A lot of side effects are associated with liver toxicity, adverse effect on lipid metabolism, weight gain, musculoskeletal pain has been associated with diazole. Now, progestins have also been tried for the treatment of fibroids, that they are used to treat menorrhagia and dysmenorrhagia, but breakthrough bleeding has already been demonstrated with that, and it can also increase the size of myoma. Again, COC can control the breakthrough bleeding, menorrhagia and fibroid, but it can lead to breakthrough bleeding, not safe for long-term use, we can understand, and can increase the size of myoma. So all these treatments has got their own limitations. Out of these treatment, we try to sort out like which alternative we can have apart from this hormonal therapy. So if we think of those therapy, we need a novel non-hormonal therapy which act on both progesterone as well as estrogen receptors. What is the action is? It decrease the angiogenesis caused by these fibroids, and they are safe and tolerated. This has been mentioned in the literature. So if we look on the other aspects, like what is the drug I want to mention about, because even I was looking for many drugs. So we have come across the literature which suggests there is triptychylum well-40, that is short form, it is called a TW, is a is the main active constituent of TW is the triptolide, which has got a main pharmacological activity, and it is the root extract of Tipterigium wilfordi, which is used for the medicinal purpose. So what is the mechanism of action? I would like to focus on this particular molecule, which helps in the restriction of the growth and shrinking of the growth of the fibroid. So preclinical evidence of the triptolide in fibroid has seen that it has an inhibitory effect on tumor cell proliferation. The treatment with triptolide in mice models significantly reduced the serum levels of T2 and progesterone. Other literature has also mentioned about the evidence of triptolide. That next slide I would like to mention, like these are supported by international literature. This particular hormonal therapy by the Natural Medicine Journal and the journal by Spinger and Integrative Complementary Medicine has mentioned about the use of this medicine. Now, if we talk about further condition, the mechanism of action of tripterigium is basically to inhibit the expression of estrogen and progesterone receptor, thus reducing the estrogen progesterone biological effect in fibroid tissue, which is the main action ideally, and it decreases the anti-apoptotic factor BCL2 and increase the apoptotic factor caspase 3, and it inhibits the aromatase enzyme, which is very, very important for the basic suppression of the growth of the fibroid. And finally, the effect on that is reversibly inhibit the function of ovary, that is reversible, and interrupt ovarian follicular development, so inhibit ovulation and induce amenorrhea. These are the main actions which ultimately decrease the cyclical rise of estrogen, ultimately decrease the size of fibroids and decrease the menstrual blood loss. This is how it acts on the fibroid. So if we move on to say about the tripterigium, next slide. The clinical study on the effect of tripterigium wilfordi on uterine leiomyoma has, this study, the aim was to observe the therapeutic effect of this particular drug on uterine myoma. The result was the decrease in leiomyoma volume. They are detected on post-therapy, and there are very fewer side effects. The main result which was studied was that there was decrease in leiomyoma volume to the tune 60% patient after 3 to 4% of this treatment, and 70% patient with 5 to 6 months of treatment. So duration of therapy also decide the effect of this drug. So coming to the other studies has been mentioned by literature about this particular molecule are the Cochrane review and the NICE support use of TW. The herbal preparation for, you can say that this is one of the herbal treatment for the uterine fibroids, and it has been mentioned that in one of the Cochrane reviews that it has led to greater reduction in fibroid and uterine volume compared with mifepristone. There was a study comparison with the mifepristone. Why mifepristone? Because this is another drug which is used continuously for 3 to 6 months, can reduce the volume and the size of the fibroid. But this drug has its own side effect. This drug has its own effects on the liver, which really put it down against the other therapies. Next thing I want to mention about TW is that the therapeutic observation is that against the mifepristone treatment is one of the study has given, that is RCT, that 62 patient with myoma diameter of 2 to 11. See the size of the myoma, and mifepristone group 25 milligram per day was given, and TW group 40 milligram per day was given, and the duration was 3 months with 6 months of follow. We have observed change in clinical symptoms, including the amount of bleeding, change in uterus and the uterine fibroid volume, serum estradiol and progesterone level when measured before the treatment and after 3 months of treatment, and other side effects like blood sugar levels, blood lipids, liver and kidney function test, and adverse reaction were studied. The result of this study was, finally, they could see there is a significant reduction in menstrual blood flow in both the treatment group, but more in TWP group. So what is seen in this, you can see the mifepristone menstruation level compared to the before and after. There is a significant reduction in TW group, and amount of menstrual bleeding also reduced with this group, and the hemoglobin level has risen from 7.6 to 12.76. So finally, there is amenorrhea induced in 43.7% patient in this triptylium group, and restoration of menstruation within 1 to 3 months after stopping the treatment in this group. That is very important to know, because many of our patients, when we consult you, that you might go into amenorrhea, then they ask, Dr. Saab, when we will conceive, kind of thing is there in their mind. So we have to explain that after stopping the therapy, after 3 months, you will resume periods, and there will be significant reduction in the size of fibroid, and there are chances of spontaneous conception can be seen. So other studies have also given a good results of TW against that. That is 49.5% reduction in uterine volume in TW group as compared to the mifepristone group. You can very well see against the 18.1%. Coming to the other studies, there are many studies which has done against the mifepristone group. Although we have other medical therapy like ulepristone has been mentioned in the literature, because of the risk of liver toxicity with the ulepristone, it has been temporarily not used unless the risk are abundant against the ulepristone. But it has been seen that TW has a very good chance of shrinking, that is 60% of uterine fibroid volume as compared to the mifepristone, that is 36%. So again, there are other studies which has seen that against mifepristone, there is reduction in progesterone, reduction in estradiol, and the side effects. These things are very commonly studied between these two drugs and the common side effects. Although the side effects with TW group was there, stomach discomfort, hot flashes, fatigue, and heart palpitation, but they are quite less than the mifepristone group. And no abnormalities were found in blood sugar, blood lipid, kidney, and liver function tests in these drugs. So result of this study showed that both TW and mifepristone is effective drug treatment for uterine fibroid, and the side effects are very less. So this is one of the challenging medical approach compared to the mifepristone, and with the lesser side effects. So when we talk about these two drugs, we talk about more about the getting away with the side effect of this medical therapy. So it has got a safety as against to the liver and the kidney. Coming to the important aspects of this particular molecule, the therapeutic effects of small dose of TW for the treatment of uterine leiomyoma. So doses were also compared in this group. So it has been seen that efficacy of treatment of the standard after the standard to meet or exceed the total volume reduction over 25% were effective for the treatment. So you can see the change in uterine size, fibroid size, serum sex hormone level where significantly change was seen in these studies. So next thing which we could see with the particular drug is, coming to the next slide. Finally, taking to the result in the comparison of these two groups, TW group have 95.16 showed clinical efficacy as compared to the mifepristone group, which has got 80%. So comparing this drug against the drug which had a good edge on the treatment of the fibroid, that is mifepristone, the TW group has a good results in comparison to the mifepristone. So what is the mechanism of action? We have to talk about this particular drug. That is very, very important. And in what combination it should be prescribed. It has an important role to play. So in next slide, please. So finally, as I mentioned, studies have shown that low dose treatment of triptylium is a safe and effective in the non-reproductive requirement patient with uterine fibroid. Even this can be prescribed with those who are having a reproductive requirement, where we can give for a shorter treatment, and after resumption of menses, we can see the reduction of fibroid size and spontaneous conception can be achieved. So coming to the, as I mentioned, coming to the mechanism of action of this particular drug. Next slide. So finally, as I mentioned, there is an important thing to be noted regarding medical management of fibroid is a suspension of ulipristal acetate for uterine fibroid during ongoing EMA review of liver injury risk, which is very, very important to know. And this matter has yet to be cleared. Before we prescribe, we have to take into account this thing like the risk of liver injury should be taken in account whenever we are prescribing ulipristol and other drugs related to medical management of fibroid. So in toto, when you are looking for a medical management, there you can always keep a hope of giving good results with TW molecule. So after all this comparison, I would like to go into the mechanism action of this particular molecule. Come next slide, please. Next. So benefit clinical results is decrease in menstrual blood loss, increase in HB level by 2 gram%, decrease in fibroid volume by 25 to 68%, decrease in uterine volume by 18 to 16%, and the progesterone by 57% levels, and estradiol level decreased by 41 to 48%. This is all more or less a basic consensus of the outcome of this molecule. So fibroid management, more physiological aspect if you are looking for, against the more radical aspect of treating with the surgically or uterine artery embolization or giving injectable therapy like GnRH analogs, where we are looking for anti-fibrotic effects, anti-proliferative effects. So we have a wonder drug like having a TW molecule. Next. Like in association with that antifibrotic effects, we have a vitamin D, which has an important role in shrinkage of fibroids, and anti-proliferative effects is with the green tea extracts. So mechanism of action of vitamin D3 in the medical management of fibroid has very, very important. You can go through. It is a simple molecule which has a wonder effects in all parts of the body. In fibroid, you can see that it has got a strong anti-fibrotic agent. It reduces the TGF beta expression. It reduces the expression of collagen type 1 and fibronectin, and finally it decreases the extracellular matrix production. So vitamin D has an important role in the suppression of the fibroid growth. And the next thing I just want to mention, like vitamin D deficiency was in a study has proven that vitamin D deficiency was associated with increased risk of fibroid and fibroid growth. And if you see this 2016 study in fertile sterility, influence of vitamin D and transforming growth factors, concentration, obesity, and has a higher risk of uterine fibroids. And they have seen that hypovitaminosis D and small burden uterine fibroids, there is an opportunity for vitamin D supplementation to get away with this type of fibroid. So vitamin D supplementation reduces the progression to extensive disease in fibroid patients. So vitamin D supplementation seem to reduce the progression and extensive disease. There is a need of conventional, and thus need of conventional surgical and other medical therapy can be avoided. So if we look into the other aspects of the combination, so mechanism of action of the EGCG of green tea, that is an extract of green tea extract. It inhibits the increased COMT enzyme in myoma tissue and initiates anti-estrogenic activity of 2,4-hydroxyestradiol. So what is the result post EGCG treatment in fibroid patient? At the end of treatment, the mean total fibroid volume dramatically decreases by an average of 32.6% in this group compared to the placebo group to the tune of 24.2%. The mean change in symptom severity score for EGCG group treated with 25.28 significantly lower compared to the placebo group, for which mean change is 7.1. So this green tea extract reduces the fibroid size and symptom severity in fibroid patients. Coming to the combination of these three. So mechanism of non-hormonal fibroid therapy. What is the mechanism? So I just focus in this particular lecture because as such we have studied a lot about the fibroids, lot of surgical treatment of fibroids, but what is important is to look into is the non-hormonal fibroid therapy. So we have a triptylium, Wilford, which decreases the expression of progesterone and estrogen receptors and decrease the aromatase enzyme, ultimately leading to decrease in fibroid and uterine volume and menstrual blood loss. We have a green tea extract EGCG for 45% in this combination, which decreases the COMT enzyme and decrease estrogenic activity, which ultimately has got a anti-proliferative actions. And finally, we have vitamin D3 combination, which decreases the TGF beta 3 ECM formation, and it finally leads to anti-fibrotic action. All three together works highly into the fibroid, decreasing the growth of the fibroid and decreasing the size of the fibroid, resulting into symptom-free time. So it is very important to consider these therapy. Next slide. So non-hormonal fibroid management, where it is required, very, very important thing which I have to start with, but finally telling all about the non-hormonal management, where we require it actually. Firstly, we require it for symptomatic management of uterine fibroid. Yes, it is very, very important, symptomatic without side effects, less of side effects. And also there is an important role of such therapies in the pre-operative management of uterine fibroids. When we see a patient is having a huge fibroid and we are planning to operate laparoscopically, there we can always take a chance of, and patient is having severe symptoms, and due to menorrhagia, patient is having anemia, where we want to treat the anemia, we can give such therapy for 3 months. The patient will go into amenorrhea, which increases the chances of increase in hemoglobin, and we can give the iron therapies to improve the hemoglobin of the patient operatively, and it will improve the chances of fitness for the surgery for the huge uterine fibroids, as it decreases the sign and increases the hemoglobin also. So such therapies has its role to play at various stages. So summarizing everything, the clinical efficacy of non-hormonal therapy has there in comparison to hormonal therapy like mifepristone. Non-hormonal therapy reduces the size of the fibroid and the volume. It controls anemia due to fibroid-induced menorrhagia, very, very important, and we want to take time before surgery is one of the important aspects. Menstruation resumes in approximately 1 to 3 months of the therapy. Stoppage has to be told to the patients, and if you are looking for such treatment before conception, the patient has to be counsel about the amenorrhea and later of chances of spontaneous conception, and it suppresses the disease progression definitely and reduces the size of the fibroids, improves the health and quality of life, which is very, very important. We see day in and out such conditions in our daily OPD, so they have to be looked with some simpler therapy, because these such therapies are safe and well tolerated. So with this, I want to give a message why I wanted to touch this topic. Like, we do look for the medical management of fibroid. We have a lot of hormonal therapy. We have a very challenging drugs which are still not proven, but we are looking for therapies which have lesser side effects. So we can take an option of going to the non-hormonal therapy, and we can try with our patients. I have an idea of recruiting many patients, seeing these patients response to this therapy over a time, and then what is the outcome in a patient of reproductive or non-reproductive requirement. Here we end my talk. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shilpi ma'am. Thanks a lot for a wonderful session on non-hormonal uterine fibroid management. So, ma'am, I have a couple of questions. So, one question is asked, ma'am, like, ulipristal has been used in India quite a lot, but recent guidelines have you mentioned that it should not be given to new patients. So, what is your complete view? So, like, they should stop in the new patients also. The question, I think, the rightly question is this one only. Yeah.
Yes, very important question. Actually, why I took this idea of taking this presentation, because even I was looking for some novel therapy seriously. Day in and out, we are searching some medical treatment, and it is we welcome such non-hormonal therapy in our practices, because definitely with the very hopeful drug like ulipristal, where we got a good bad stop on it, and there is no guideline as such restarting the drug, and the risk of because of the liver toxicity. So we are still at a distance with this idea unless we get a good approval on it.
Okay. Ma'am, I have one question. Mifepristone also from the same class of drug as ulipristal. So,
Yes.
what's your view on that usage of mifepristone, because that is also SPRM? So,
Yeah, this is also one of the good drug, I must say, since it is of same category of mechanism action of ulipristal. Definitely, something has to be looked into related to side effects. Since it is being not given very often, and I've seen in the practice, although it has been prescribed to the patient, I do see it, even if it is prescribed by some other gynecologist, patient do come to us not satisfied with the treatment, or they are not happy with some medical treatment, or they are not getting a good response to the treatment. So ultimately they don't take treatment for long. This is very true. Even my patient does not take treatment for long because they are unhappy with the, if there is no reduction in the size of the fibroid, only for the particular duration of treatment only the patient get no symptoms or less symptoms. Like a young girl of mine suffering from more or less intramural and submucosal fibroid, which is giving lot of menorrhagia, and she lands up into mostly 5 gram hemoglobin many times, after 3-4 months. I treated her with this non-hormonal hormonal treatment, and they get a relief for time being, but I didn't find very good reduction in size of the fibroid. So somewhere we have to resort to the surgical treatment. Apart from that thing, not carrying the treatment for long, not seeing the response to the treatment, side effects has a role to play, where we cannot give mifepristone also for long, or for longer duration, or maybe for even trying for few months also, because we have to choose the safer therapy. So then we have to take our call, like which therapy is suiting to the particular treatment.
okay. Ma'am, how long excuse me, the question is, yes, how long you would like to give this treatment to your patients?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, this is 3 months initially. You should start the treatment, and see the response to the treatment, whether the patient is able to tolerate or not. What is the amount of menstrual bleeding? Whether the symptomatic pain relief in the amount of blood flow, and then chances of getting amenorrhea has to be judged. So initially you can start with the 3 months, and if you feel the patient is very comfortable and regaining the hemoglobin, you can give a gap of 1 or 2 months and give another 3 months therapy if the fibroid is bigger. You can say, like, if the fibroid is more than 5 cm, you can try out with the 2 courses of such therapies.
Okay. So, ma'am, I think I'm getting the same question on ulipristal issue, I think, which has recently cropped up. So, I think
Yes.
I've already answered. There's a couple of 3 questions I can see here, and on mifepristone also. One, yeah, ma'am, one more question has come. Uh, what about the safety of Fibronorm? Means like, people will body.
Yeah, see, Fibronorm is a non-hormonal therapy. That is wonderful thing out of it. Like, it has got a root extract, that is Streptorygium wilfordi and triptolide, which has a very less effect on the as such on the liver and the basically kidney function test, as compared to the studies I have mentioned, compared to the mifepristone, and also less of cases of hot flashes because of the suppression of the estrogen receptors. And it has got a natural green tea extract, which has a very good role. Apart from that wonderful idea which I got, that the vitamin D supplementation, which has a very good role in the reduction of the size of the fibroid. I think it is one of the challenging drugs we can come up with the treatment of fibroids.
Okay. So, ma'am, thank you so much for answering all these questions. So, I really would like to summarize from your slides that new therapy should be tried out, because, like, it is safe, and especially when in this time when ulipristal has issues and people are doubting even mifepristone as a SPRM. So, this is one of the best choice among seems to be. And ma'am, sorry, I missed a small one question. Do do you use like this drug for reducing size before surgery?
Yes, yes, that is a wonderful idea actually. As I mentioned, we play with many bigger fibroids and during surgery and laparoscopic surgery, yes, it is a great challenge. Reducing the size of the fibroid is a wonderful idea. You know, apart from reduction of the size, as I mentioned, like if you buy 3 months time, improving the hemoglobin of the patients before surgery is really, really good idea and should be taken before the surgery. In the bigger fibroids, more than you can say the 10 centimeter kind of thing, and a lot of patients having severe anemia with those fibroids, you can always give such therapies.
Ma'am, one more question. Sorry, last question, because these questions are continuously coming. Any
Yeah.
criteria in terms of size or location of uterine fibroid with mild to moderate menorrhagia for starting non-hormonal treatment?
Yeah, definitely. I have got a mainly the symptoms are very important. As I mentioned in the beginning, most of the fibroids, they do occur as a intramural fibroids. They are also very notorious for the symptoms. They also produce a lot of menorrhagia and the pelvic pain. And more important, which I have seen, is a submucosal, which are very, very symptomatic, heavy menstrual bleeding are seen. So I must say maybe a more symptomatic, even if it is a 3 centimeter fibroid, more of submucosal component, I must place this patient for this treatment. And then bigger fibroids, definitely 4 centimeter, 5 centimeter, where they are also obstructing and decreasing the chance of conception. I would like to give a short therapy of these treatment and then take the patient for the further treatment, or the patient might conceive spontaneously after stopping the treatment.
So, ma'am, thank you so much for your answers. Very insightful talk, really. And I hope all the participants also must have got really good insights for this non-hormonal therapy in uterine fibroids. And just I would like to mention, ma'am, there's a recently, as Sushma ma'am also said, there's a lot of questions that have come for weight reduction. So let me just share with you that on recently on from July 1st, Doctor's Day, we are starting one from Acumentis side, the Fitness for Life campaign, where all the doctors are invited for joining us from 7 to 7:45 by a fitness guru, Coach Rahul. So he would be giving fitness training and lot of breathing exercises. So you all of doctors will get the invitation for that also. So my request, please join that. That is on weight reduction and even how your patient, you can manage your patients on weight reduction, giving tips to them and tips to you also how to keep yourself healthy. So with all this, I really would like to thank on behalf of Acumentis, Shilpi ma'am, Sushma ma'am, for giving your valuable time for these talks. And I would like to thank you all the participants who have been there consistently for last almost 1.5 hours for these two presentations. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sachinji.
Ji ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It
ma'am.
was a nice discussion. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.